Cultural heritage conservation. What is it? Professionals get it, and enthusiasts are eager to learn more. For everyone, the key lies in words. Words to describe, define, understand, and share. Words are continuous, holding the concept that they express, their history, and their usage by those familiar with them, carrying everything, even the invisible, as well as the unseen dynamics they generate. So, welcome to Interfaces, the podcast, a place where I, Simona Sayeva, conservation engineer, dive into the words of cultural heritage conservation. Why interfaces? Because they are frontiers and contact zones where different ideas and practices meet, shaping our understanding of cultural heritage. Word by word, we will explore the shaded corners of conservation with a personal touch. From authenticity to zillage, each episode dives deep into a single key term that embodies this intricate field. If you want to enjoy art and heritage conservation, this podcast is for you. Join me on this exploratory journey through interfaces, where words connect us to the past and guide us toward a sustainable future in cultural heritage conservation. Let's get started. Identity. This is the first and most fundamental word we will discuss in today's episodes. Identity is a crucial issue in the world of cultural heritage conservation. It can be approached from different angles: identity value, expression, equality, and so on. It pertains to the heritage itself, its values, and also the categories involved. For example, the workers in the field of conservation. And today we are focusing on this aspect. Particularly, we will talk about the professionals who practice conservation, the conservators. Who are the conservators? What is their identity? This question alone brings up other aspects. What identity? Professional identity or social identity? For the first, the professional identity, the defining aspects are many and vary from country to country, such as education, qualification, role, status, and definition, just to name a few. For the second, the social identity, the defining aspects are numerous, such as, for example, age, cultural background, gender, and others. While opportunities for debate on the latter are still scarce, for the professional identity, opportunities abound. But why? Do conservators not know who they are? Absolutely not. Maybe their perception is just in need of perfection. But this doesn't answer the question, why? Why discuss the identity of conservators? Part of the answer may come from how the modern conservator came into being. Let's say that before this figure emerged, conservation was an activity largely practiced by artists and craftsmen. The choice depended greatly on the context, the type of work, and available skills. The main guiding principle for a long time were reconditioning the functionality of the object. It had to serve a purpose, and its appearance. It had to look beautiful. It didn't matter much if these goals were achieved with some approximation. Essentially, it was more about functional repurposing than true conservation, as we understand it today. So, when things started to change, well, it was only in the 20th century that a growing debate, enriched by international contribution, matured into a shared concept of restoration first and conservation later. One of the universally recognized pioneers of restoration as a discipline is the Italian Cesare Brandi, founder of the Istituto Centrale del Restauro in Rome in 1939, the first of its kind in the world. He also authored The Theory of Restoration, published in 1963, a text still referenced today, especially when appropriately historicized. By defining the restauro, Brandi helped to shape the role of the restauratore. This marked the beginning of a journey toward the internationally recognized modern conservator. And as the dates show, all this is less than a century old. We can generally say that in the past, interventions or work of art of cultural interest were commonly carried out in continuity with the artist or craftsman's work, almost like a relay with the creator. From Grandi onwards, the restauratore became a separate, objective, structured professional, capable of maintaining a beneficial distance from the object. It is no coincidence that the modern analogy often used is between conservation and medicine, and between the conservator and the doctor. Conservators, just like doctors, must first understand and diagnose before deciding whether and how to intervene, all while following a precise and rigorous code of ethics and deontology. Today, the path to become a conservator involves a course of study that goes from 2 years up to 5 to achieve a full qualification, depending on the country, and it's followed by a lifelong learning to stay updated with the continuous development. So, the question arises again, why the issue of identity? Isn't everything already defined? Well, no. Or rather, defined, yes, but less known. Who is the conservator today? Let's have a look at some definitions from major online dictionaries. A conservator is someone whose job is to clean and repair historical objects or works of art. Collins Dictionary. A person or organization whose job is to keep works of art, important buildings or valuable cultural objects in good condition. Cambridge Dictionary. Specialista della restaurazione des œuvres d'art. Le Robert. Tecnico specializzato nel restauro di opere d'arte e di oggetti artistici. Treccani. Praticien qui restaure des œuvres d'art, des objets, etc. Larousse. Persona que tiene por oficio restaurar pinturas, estatuas, porcelanas y otros objetos artísticos o valiosos. La Real Academia Española. Can you identify all the competencies? Do you see the intellectual aspect? To add a bit of humor, we might say a conservator is, as a conservator does, riffing off Forrest Gump. It might just seem so clear and simple. But if it's that simple, why is the identity of these professionals a topic of debate? Maybe the key to understanding lies in the doing. What exactly does a conservator do? What are the unique activities that only they can perform? What role do they truly play? Let's zoom out and look at the sector as a whole. But before, a little aside. You may have noticed the different use of the words conservation and restoration, from one language to another and from one period to another. Well, in short, we could say that it depends both on the evolution of the concept and on the linguistic areas. We will talk also about this shortly. Well, it might seem strange, but both within the sector and to the general public, the work of a conservator is not well known, albeit in different ways. Within the sector, conservators usually face other professional categories, that have existed for much longer, such as, for example, art historians or architects. Moreover, in this field, the conservator is one of the rare professional figures who, besides intellectual work, also performs the interventions manually. While this is an extraordinary uniqueness, it contributes to a misperception of their role, especially in the architectural sector, where this often overshadows the enormous intellectual work behind every single gesture. Another point concerns the professional hierarchy. While the decision-making process based on science is well established, the professional hierarchy derived from the weight of the profession is not yet fully defined. For example, in my usual sector, the architectural and building one, the work hierarchy often follows the material hierarchy. The building comes first, and with it the roles and the competencies of the categories responsible for it. We can say that, apart from the material intervention, the deepness of the conservator's work remains little known. So, it looks like part of the perceived identity problem today undoubtedly derives from the young age of this profession and its development in the environment in which it operates. Conservators may find it difficult to represent themselves at the same level as colleagues from professions that have existed for a while. Qualifications, lists, registers can help. Whether these provisions are subjects of debate or are already implemented, this kind of issue depends a lot on national legislation, which varies from country to country. It should also be noted that the object of conservators' intervention, namely cultural heritage, must also be defined. Even if there is a shared international notion of heritage, not all countries have it within their national legislation. If the object is not defined, how can the person conserving it be defined? But there are also other factors. For example, the growing recognition of the intangible cultural values of heritage, the need to review intervention practices and materials, making them more sustainable. In fact, there is a need to reflect not only on who the conservators are, but also on how they are evolving. So, there is a debate. On April 11th of this year, the conference What's in a Name was held in Paris at the Musée du Quai Branly, Jacques Chirac. The discussion centered around the definition of the conservator-restorer profession, provided by ICOM-CC in 1984. If you have the time, I highly recommend watching it. It's available on the museum's YouTube channel. You can find all the references in these episode notes, together with other details. Thanks to the numerous contributions, the conference traced the steps leading to today's definition of conservator, opening a debate on various points, such as, for example, the origin of the term conservation in English and conservation restoration in Latin countries, and the current sentiment regarding these terms. This will also help you understand how I use these terms in this episode. Well, while it may be theoretically interesting to pose philosophical questions, what emerged is that conservators know exactly who they are. A problem lies in the recognition of their identity. During the conference, the possibility of changing the name of the profession was also discussed. Proposals such as heritage engineer emerged. But why abdicate an existing identity? perhaps to affirm it by aligning with more recognized profession, or maybe so perceive it. Don't get me wrong, having worked in the field for almost 30 years, I know from personal experience that conservators sometimes find themselves perceived as accessories compared to some other professions. Yet they stand out because they are the only ones who physically translate theoretical approach, ideas, and research into practical and pragmatic interventions, taking full responsibility. This is their uniqueness. Beyond the definition, a conservator is a complete professional figure. Definitions help outline the skills and ethics of a conservator, but they don't capture everything that a conservator is in daily practice. The intellectual contribution behind every action, the understanding of the regulatory framework, the organizational skills, and the didactics required to interact with individuals not accustomed to this way of working. It could be said that a clear and accurate public image of the conservator profession developed through collective experience is still lacking. Almost everyone has, in the course of their lives, directly or indirectly dealt with architects and engineers, but rarely with conservators. Alright, let's jump into an exercise together. Let's think about an antique object, something we know and are sentimentally attached to. For example, something passed down through the family. A piece of jewelry, a painting, a book, or even a building. We care about this object. We want it to be kept in the best condition and perhaps regain some of its lost splendor, as they say. Who do we turn to? If we are lucky, we find our way to a conservator. Generally, what happens from the moment the object is entrusted to the conservator until it is returned to the owner is often unknown. This process is perceived as magic or even a miracle, depending on the initial conditions. But this magic is made of method, of steps that require both intellectual and practical skills. Let's explore this together. First, we must say that, much like doctors, the conservator specializes in a particular category of objects through a personal journey of training and experience. There is an initial observation that helps adapt the subsequent steps, such as documentation and research study. Based on this, conservators decide how to pursue scientific analysis, straight to making a diagnosis. Then, coherently with all this information, conservators formulate the most appropriate conservation approach, which can include, if needed, direct interventions. That in a very simplified way. Anyway, to carry out this work, conservators must possess multiple skills, not all visible. We should call them tacit knowledge, according to Jorge Otero's study. This is the implicit knowledge that guides the conservator's work, along with the ability to interact with the material and apply specific conservation techniques. Otero emphasizes that this tacit knowledge, accumulated through practical experience, is essential for successful intervention and often cannot be easily taught or expressed in words. According to this study, which I agree with, besides explicit knowledge, which includes both the science and the humanities, conservators must develop practical skills that go beyond traditional techniques. This includes the ability to sense and make informed decisions during the conservation process, based on a combination of manual skills and embodied cognition. Otero suggests that this combination of explicit and tacit knowledge, along with neuroplasticity and embodied cognition, can significantly enhance conservators' performance and the quality of their interventions. In my work, within the context of mural painting and architectural decoration conservation, these dynamics are particularly evident. This blend of theoretical and practical skills, along with the ability to adapt and respond to new information, enhances the effectiveness of conservators and the quality of their interventions. This is fully part of being a conservator and deserves recognition. So, let's talk about it. Social recognition. Defining the profession, thus the identity, of conservator can and should be addressed on multiple levels, particularly legal and administrative. What we are really diving into is identity, the identity that already exists and deserves wider recognition. Having worked with conservators from various countries with different backgrounds and experiences, it's clear that a shared identity does indeed exist. Beyond national context, this common identity brings conservators together. It's shaped by a blend of skills, knowledge, and passion for preserving cultural heritage. One clear example of how this identity is overlooked is when conservation news is reported by the media. Newspapers often highlight various roles, but rarely mention conservators. This omission not only devalues their contributions, but also misses an opportunity to inform the public about their work. Mentioning conservators would allow people to learn about their expertise, perhaps even finding their websites or social media profiles, and gaining a deeper understanding of their professions and specialties. This person-to-person search-by-search recognition can significantly enhance our collective understanding of the profession. The lack of conservators in decision-making roles within institutions and private enterprises also contributes to this state of things. Also, developing skills like communication and leadership is key for better self-representation. These soft skills not only enhance self-awareness, but also help build networks, influence decisions, and promote the profession. Furthermore, the competitive nature of accessing work, where conservators are in constant competition with each other, doesn't help, especially in contexts without supportive communities. Building a supportive network can make a significant difference. This can foster collaboration and promote the profession more effectively. Who are we if we are not seen? This question might seem too existential for the topic at hand, but it is not. Dignity and identity are closely linked to the words we use. Words shape identity. We might even say that identity is constructed from words. And if these words are not shared, the essence of what they express can fade away. Let's use our words to build and share this identity, making sure that the voices in conservation are heard. So, as we continue our journey together, word by word, we will explore the essence and importance of conservation. Words are the tools I use to express and share my experience as professional, as author, and as a teacher, and also the reason why I'm starting this podcast. I invite you to join the next episode, where we will delve into other keywords and fascinating stories from the world of conservation. If this topic has intrigued you, share the podcast with friends and colleagues, and do not hesitate to get in touch. See you next time. As we wrap up this episode of my podcast Interfaces, I wanted to thank you for joining me on this exploration of cultural heritage conservation through words. I'd like to extend my gratitude to the amazing team behind this podcast. Media, Salvatore Melluso, for expertly crafting our audio experience. Graphic design, Emanuela Nosari, for creating our striking visuals. Language, Tanya Yakovenko, for ensuring our message resonates clearly. If you enjoyed our discussion and are interested in diving deeper into these topics, especially for my Italian listener, be sure to check out my books Conservazione nelle decorazioni architettoniche, il ruolo delle strutture di supporto, published in 2022, e my latest release, Pitture murali, i degradi di origine meccanica, metodologia per restauratori e ingegneri. You can find the links to these and all the references mentioned in this episode in the show notes and in the podcast information. Don't forget to check them out. Thank you for the attention today, and I look forward to having you join us in the next episode of the Interfaces podcast.